find your passion. So that way, I don't get up and go to work every day. I don't go,
right.
I got to get up.
You get up and you want to go to work.
Yes. It's like I bounce out of bed every day. Like, oh, let's go. I love what I do. So it's the key is being passionate about, what you do, right? Yep.
All right, man.
Wow.
We're rolling with another brother from another mother.
From another mother.
That's right. That's real.
Yeah,
I've been looking forward to this.
We had to beat some of the same paths.
Yeah, man.
100.
That's it. That's it. So, how you doing, Nick?
I'm great, man.
Yeah.
10 foot tall and bulletproof.
Awesome. You gotta get.
Okay.
I know you gotta.
Well, you don't have to be like
That's that swag.
Yeah.
That's that swag.
Just getting comfortable. Yeah.
It's all good. You can do that.
Yeah, I had to
but we
keep
want
mine from going back because I'll be laid out.
The sound, you're not gonna be able to hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want people to hear your story, man. Your story is strong, brother. So tell the people a little bit about you, your history. Let's get them to know you.
The Cliff Notes. Trying to put anybody to sleep too fast. So I was born right here in Atlanta. My mom and dad were in high school when they had me, which was very taboo back then, kind of common now. Mm-hmm. But it was literally the shotgun wedding. My mom's dad's like, you're getting married to my daughter, whether you want to get married or not.
Exactly. We were working
But when
out
I was 3, Dad left to go. He was a hippie of the 60s, went to go race motorcycles, right? Professional motorcycle. Left when I was 3. We moved in with my mother's parents, who were very old already. And once my mom saw that we were good, she left too. She was a party girl, right? Not playing the victim, because I had 2 of the best sets of grandparents like you could ever ask for. Mm-hmm. But my mom's parents were very old, so when I was with them, I had no discipline whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And I always felt that I was different because, most people had a mom or a dad around unless they died. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I had neither. And so I always felt that I was different. I just didn't feel like the rest of the kids because my mom and dad weren't around. I got asked about it all the time, and I came up with all sorts of crazy lies. They're dead. I don't know. They left me. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But I kind of used that as an excuse to do bad. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And probably the best decision I ever made. One of the best decisions of my life, but I happened to have made it when I was 15. When I got my learner's license, my rap sheet was already several pages long as a juvenile, and I voluntarily moved in with my dad's dad, who's the colonel, like literally Colonel Jones, with the step grand monster.
That's funny.
And had I not done that, not only would I not have graduated college, I would have graduated high school. But the best decision, because I went from having no structure and rules to have your ass home at dark. Like, you know what I'm saying? I went from smoking weed all the time to, if we smelling like weed, we're going to take that car you bought away from you. You know what I'm saying? And it started early. It's common, especially in the inner city, to have a middle schooler. I was 12 in 6th grade, right? I was a year young because I'm a November birthday, right? But at 12 years old, I was selling joints in school, in 6th grade. But because of my uncles and the little time my mom was around, who was a party girl, by the time I was in 8th grade, I was getting blocks of hash from Lebanon, and my biggest distributor was the 8th grade PE coach. Oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? And so I had money, right? and so I had all this stuff at a young age. And athletics, moving in with granddad was the biggest. The other part was sports kept me out of trouble, because if you got in trouble, you weren't going to be able to play. Right. Basketball and football were my things. I liked them equally. Like football a little bit more. Ended up going to Georgia Southern on a football scholarship.
Nice.
Trying to give you the Cliff Notes of the life story before we don't do too long. But, in college, the drug dealing just escalated because it was so easy here in college, right? Everybody wants what you got, right? And I had whatever you needed.
You might as well just stay in college.
Right? I tried to.
The rest of your life.
I did. I tried. Look,
that's what I'm thinking.
I graduated high school in 82 and didn't graduate college till 88.
I'm not mad at that,
If I
man.
could have drug it out more, I would have. But when I graduated, the family business, granddad had an industrial chemical company. And I went to work for a different chemical company to kind of learn the business from the outside in, so it wasn't just step into the family business, although I had worked in the warehouse as a forklift driver, truck driver, sweeping floors. And I was making them so much money. I was supposed to stay there for 2 years. I was in sales. I made them so much money the first year. It's like, yo, you're coming to work for me. And I thought I was coming home to Atlanta. And he transferred me to Huntsville, Alabama.
Been there.
And in the combination of hating Huntsville and the fact that I was still making way more money selling drugs than I was selling industrial chemicals, I quit the family business. Broke his heart. I hate it to this day because I said I wanted to leave. I didn't like my boss in Huntsville. And he convinced me to stay. And then I said, fuck this shit. I quit.
Right.
And now I had no reins on me. So now it was the dope game all the way. And not proud nor ashamed. But I was not a good human being then. And that's putting it mildly, right? I was a foul person, right?
Character flaws. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just that. Being in that business, you're either a shark or you're bait. And so you either eat any bait that's available for you to eat or someone eats you. Like, that's just the way it is. So I was into everything except for heroin, but it was all compartmentalized, right? So I had people over here that sold weed. I had people over here that sold cocaine. I had people over here that imported steroids from Mexico, which ironically is how I got in the business I'm in now. I manufactured GHB. I manufactured ecstasy. And once upon a time, I was the largest ecstasy manufacturer in the United States.
Wow.
According to the DA. So, that was the life I lived and probably would have lived it and had the same, that story only ends two ways, right? Death or life in prison. Those are the only two endings to that story.
That's it.
I don't care who you're talking to, what lie they tell themselves, right? So it's no secret I've been to prison 3 times. I've done 12 years of my life in prison. The third time was on some bullshit, but had I not done all the other stuff that I was on a 20-year probation, they wouldn't have been able to send me back to prison on some bullshit, so I never played the victim card. But what got me out of the game was wasn't going to jail. You go to prison in that life, you come out and keep your mouth shut, you get a promotion. You get a big promotion. You get to jump way up the ladder. You kept your mouth shut, did your time here. First time I got out of prison, some people that all right, came by. I'd bought 1/3 of the Gold's Gym in Kennesaw, and I just got home from prison. Granddad loaned me the money, and we were killing it. And this guy comes by and buys memberships for he and all his family and leaves his gym bag. I call him and say, hey, man, you left your gym bag. He said, nah, it's a gift for you. I'm like, what? Open up, there's 2 keys in there. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not sure what to do with this. He says, you don't owe us anything.
Just because you didn't tell on us.
Yeah. You don't know us
That's
anything.
the pat on the back. That's what that is.
Yeah, you don't know us anything.
Yeah.
So, it's right back into life again.
Right.
And there were times, especially what got me out of the life was I became addicted to cocaine. And first of all, the people in that business, once they knew that I had a problem, now I've reached my ceiling. In fact, you just got a demotion, right? Because, you can't get high on your own supply.
Exactly.
You can't be a monkey selling bananas. And for years, I was able to at least maintain. But once I had crossed that line where my addiction was so bad that I couldn't even run drug dealing businesses, that was the beginning of the end, but really the beginning of the beginning. Right? Right? So November, the week before Thanksgiving, 1999, I checked myself into St. Jude's Recovery and stayed in detox for a week. And normally detox back then was like 3 days, but I was in bad shape, right? And I made it into the residential program. I stayed there 7 months voluntarily. I didn't do it for a judge. I didn't do it for my family. I did it because I really, really wanted to stop doing cocaine. Right. And I tried everything. I tried geographic change, moving to Miami, So
That's where you don't want to move to.
No. But
you move to like Nebraska,
here's
man.
the true story on that, though. Some people in Atlanta got in trouble, and I thought one of them was going to rat, right? In fear, I left town. And I went to Miami, and I used my degree, and I got a job with Lanier Woolrod Office Products selling copiers and fax machines. And I got a really shitty territory because I wasn't bilingual. And I was angry about that. Damn it, this is America. Don't have to speak English.
Not
right?
Miami. Miami's Cuba now.
Yeah. So my buddy, who was GM of the largest strip club at the time in Miami, Solid Gold North Miami, 174th and Biscayne, said, hey, why don't you come take a job as an assistant manager here while you look for another job? Well, within 6 months, I wasn't looking for another job. They transferred him to Pure Platinum in Fort Lauderdale. And at 27 years old, I was managing the biggest strip club in Miami. And because they're open days and nights, I was on the schedule 4 to 12 Monday through Friday. I had my days, had my nights, had my weekends. But I was abstinent from cocaine. until I wasn't, right? And once I wasn't. Like
Right.
within 2 months of picking up again, I didn't have that job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I came back to do a deal in Atlanta and never went back to Miami. I used to lie and tell everybody I lost everything in the hurricane. I just never went back and got it. And I lost all my bodybuilding trophies, my watch collection, every photograph that I owned to my name prior to that time. I lost everything just like the hurricane, just because I got so paranoid because some feds were investigating some stuff and they had a wire in one of my places. I got so paranoid, I'm just, I ain't going back down there.
You want to take the wire with you.
Right? So, catching up to speed. Got sober, checked myself into treatment in 99, got a year sober just on treatment center stuff. But right after my year sobriety, and I had a job selling cell phones and was making good money, and I worked a lot because I felt like, I had a 15-year gap in my resume. So I was working, and I've always been able to sell and make money. I was making good money. But, I got this big commission check, and we had a break at work. And the thought crossed my mind that, hey, I could probably go do some on Friday and be all right by Tuesday. That's not how that story ends, right? So, but now when I had relapsed, I really was hopeless because I thought I had tried everything, and now I just conceded, like, okay, I'm going to be a junkie the rest of my life because I've tried to get sober. I did everything I could do. But I went to the CA meeting at the Sandy Springs Christian Church, and this guy came up to me. I really went there because I picked up so many white chips in AA and CA that they quit clapping. You know what I'm saying? In fact, my home group at St. Jude's, where I'm still on the board of directors, one of them asked me, hey, man, can you bring some of those white chips back around? You know what I'm saying?
Now, for people who don't know, including, what's a white chip?
White chip is the chip you pick up. It's a symbol of surrender. It means you're going to try the program one day at a time.
Yeah.
And I would go pick up a white chip and go home and do cocaine. And then I would...
Did you use it to cut
use
the
the chip.
cocaine? Cut the line with it?
So this guy came up to me and invited me to his house, and the long story short, he walked me through that AA Big Book, is what the CA uses, that same textbook.
Yeah.
And he didn't try to tell me anything that wasn't in that book. And honestly, the first time we sat down, I didn't think this shit was going to work for me, but I believed that he was like me and that it had worked for him, right? And that was enough for me to come back the next week. And I did what the book says, and just like it promised, like the desire to use cocaine, God removed it. It's a God thing, right?
Really,
and like
100%.
I look
Definitely
at
a spiritual thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
I look at it like rat poison now. Like I'm still around people that do it, right? And it doesn't bother me. I'm not offended if you offer somebody, but it's not a temptation. I'm like, to me, it's like, here, you want some rat poison?
Yeah, would you like to destroy your life again?
Yeah, because I promise you, at 23 years sober, if I did a bump of cocaine, and it's why I'm not, drinking, I'm not big, right?
Right.
Because I guarantee you, if I thought that at 23 years sober that I could do a bump, that the next day you'd be looking for Nick, right? Where's Nick? He's in a hotel room somewhere with a bunch of cocaine. And the allergic reaction that you have as an addict doesn't go away.
Right.
Right. It magnifies over time, so the reaction would be worse. So long story short, once I got sober this time. Within 8 months, I was selling the shit out of cell phones for a company called Let's Talk Cellular at Lenox Mall. They had a kiosk right in the middle of the mall, and they sold for everybody. Back then, it was like Nextel and Bell South, which became Singular, which became
AirTouch. You remember AirTouch?
Yeah.
AirTouch.
Yeah, that was Verizon.
That was Verizon. Yeah.
So I was killing it, right? Commission salesperson, didn't have a worry in the world, and we sold everybody, but I sold more AT&T phones because they were easier to turn on, and it was comparable coverage. They had good coverage, and I could activate a phone in 10 minutes, where with Bell South, he had to get on a computer. It took you 35 minutes to turn on a phone. I was cranking out 20, 30 phones on a Saturday, making $2,000 in the 90s. That's on a day.
That's like $5,000 now.
Yeah, it's a pretty good day.
Yeah.
So AT&T came to me and offered me this position to be a regional vice president, but I had to move to Charlotte. Was the first thing. And then the second thing is they had to overcome my criminal background. But they overlooked that. And when I got up there, right before I left, I closed a deal at the Costco in Dunwoody. They had bought a bunch of Nokia phones. Remember the 5165s that had the faceplates you could change? Yeah. And then they had the James Bond phone, the really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So they bought all these phones, but nobody comes into a warehouse and just buys a phone without knowing what plan is. Back then you paid by the minute. You know what I'm saying? You bought blocks of minutes for the rate plans. Wireless back then was you made money on the usage, not on the equipment. Now there's no money on usage. It's all the money on the equipment. So I cut a deal with this Costco where we sold their phones, but we kept the activation fee commission that AT&T paid. Like, it was a sweet deal for us because they paid for the equipment.
No money out of your pocket.
No
basically.
money out of my pocket. And we killed it. So when I worked for AT&T, I developed that relationship with Costco, and so it was beneficial to me. I left AT&T and started my own wireless company. And within 18 months, I was the largest AT&T wireless authorized agency in the world. I had stores in every single Costco. I had them in most BJ's wholesale clubs, and I had them in most Harris Teeter grocery stores, which are a grocery store chain in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the lessons that I had to learn more than once in life, nothing lasts forever, because I was making so much money then, you couldn't tell me shit. And I thought it would never end. Like, I had 400 employees, like Corey that you know, started working for me in the wireless business.
So that was you. That wasn't corporate. You came up with all that.
I left and I started my own company. That wasn't corporate. But I was their golden boy because I sold more phones than they did.
Anybody, yeah.
You know, they had a 50-yard line suite at Bank of America Stadium, and they gave the tickets to me. And their other corporate people would be pissed off and like, yo, this dude turns more phones on in a weekend than y'all did in a month. You know what I'm saying? Because I paid commission salespeople to do that. So catching up to current day, money went out of wireless. And another valuable lesson I had to learn was, you know, out of loyalty to my employees, because I had like 400 employees, and most of them were high school educated, they weren't going to find another job that they made the money working for me. They just weren't, right? And I wiped out my own savings trying to save a sinking ship that had so many holes in it. It was not, the industry had changed, and there was nothing I could do about it. And so I was destitute. It's funny, I was talking with Rich right before when he was here for the setup. You know, I had to like go back and take a regular job because I had financial responsibilities. I had taken custody of my little brother, and like I went back to work at a gym as a sales guy in a gym. It was pretty humbling, and worked weekends for the moving company because I needed the money. Like I was working just a regular Joe again. But I had a chance to open up this sales school in Charlotte called the Sandler Sales Institute. If anybody doesn't know about David Sandler or Sandler Sales, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I drank the Kool-Aid. It's the best sales methodology ever. And that's coming from a person who very humbly, because God, every gift I have came from God. Every blessing I have came from God. I take credit for none of it. But every company I've ever been with since I was 19 years old, I've been the #1 salesperson in the world. Even when I was with AT&T and they ranked us globally. And I was so ego-driven that as long as I was #1 on the list, I didn't care what my paycheck was. My paycheck could have been double what it was 2 weeks ago. But if I was #3 on the list, I was fucking pissed off, right? Because I was so ego-driven. So I started this Sales Sandler Institute with a buddy. I was a junior partner. And because of my contacts in Atlanta, I landed Coca-Cola North America as the accountant, which was Sandler's biggest account they had ever had. And so I was making really good money again, and things were really good. But someone else at Sandler out of corporate in Baltimore landed Lenovo and IBM as Lenovo was buying the ThinkPad division from IBM, all right, in transition. They landed that account globally. And because I had managed the biggest account, corporate recruited me to manage that account. And that was a sweet gig. It was tough because I was raising a, challenged, forgive me, brother, but a challenged teenager, because he had some problems. And I was gone a lot. And it was a lot on my relationship because I'd be gone for 2 and 3 months at a time. And I had this young man that I was trying to raise. And then when the economy slowed in 2008, China was the first to see it coming, and they started laying off. And because I was technically a subcontractor, I was one of the first that got laid off. And it's funny, the only time I've ever been on unemployment in my life, it just made me so angry. I went to the unemployment office, and I filled out unemployment. And I'm tripping out, and I'm networking, and I'm on Monster back then every day, putting my resumes out and everything. And like, there's these people in the unemployment office, and they're not looking for a job. Like, I'm mad that I've got my laptop there. It's a distraction that I even have to stop and talk to you because, look, I'm looking for a job, right? These people, they ain't doing nothing.
No.
So by the time I even got my first check, which was 2 months later, I'd already had a gig, right? But the gig was somebody found me based on my Sandler resume, and they were opening up an online trading academy franchise in Atlanta. And I'm like, cool, because I lived in Raleigh at the time. Like, brings me back home, right? And I, just like we were talking about, I threw some wild number at him, right? Just
But he'll never say yes. He was like, cool.
Yeah.
He was like,
I said, I want this up front, and I want 1/3 ownership of the franchise.
Right.
They said, how soon can you get here? Oh, shit, what do I do now? Right?
Should ask for half.
I want all of the percentage.
So it's funny because I didn't know the first thing about stocks, right? And I told them, I'm like, I don't know anything about financials. I'm not even good at math, right? But they said, we're gonna take you through. We're gonna send you to go to the basic classes so you know the product, but you're not teaching the classes. You're just managing the sales team and selling the classes. And the very next year, out of 30 franchises, we were the #1 franchise, and I used my money to buy into the Boston franchise. And that was a sweet gig. And I was making stupid money, probably more money than I've ever made. But I worked 6 days a week because the workshops were Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I could have been off Sunday, Monday, but what am I going to do? Lay at home and watch Netflix on a Monday? Like, I got up and go to work because what else was I going to do? Lay around? So I made really good money, but I just worked a lot, a lot. And then, when the DA found out that I had moved back here, I had a situation that allowed them to violate my probation. And I had 7 years left of a 20-year probation sentence that I had paid $250,000 fine off. Jesus. And they violated me and made me do every bit of it to the door.
Really?
Yeah. So believe it or not, I've only been home for 7 years now.
Wow.
And I'm really blessed. So
Sevens, man.
yeah, exactly. So
It's
when I
threes
was
and
gone,
sevens.
I obviously cliche, lots of time to think, right? Right. I kind of decided if the money didn't matter, which it does, right? Because we all have
Always does.
responsibility,
It always
right?
does, yeah.
But if it didn't matter, what do I want to do? What was my passion, right? And I've always been in business that I liked, the gym business. Wireless was fun when it was cool, Being in financials was cool because I really did change people's life. We were brick and mortar school that taught people how to trade and invest and change their financial life, and that was very rewarding. But I really wanted to do like a hormone clinic, and there weren't many even as 7 years ago. Like it's the industry blowing up, right?
Yeah. Now everybody wants one.
Yeah. Now it's the end thing.
I mean, it's so crazy to me. I wish it was like this when I was
Back in the day.
Yeah.
No, but here's the great irony.
Yeah.
I found somebody that would hire me on damn near nothing just so I could learn the business, right? And I realized my third day on the job that because of my history as a steroid dealer, I knew more about what they were doing than they did. And this is what they did for a living.
And the doctors.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
No
Doctors
doubt.
don't know shit.
No doubt. So I was kind of a product of, I tanked early for my generation. Now people tank way young because of all the shit they put in food, right?
Yeah.
But I went to the best, Dr. Michael Katz, chief of internal medicine at Piedmont Hospital, low T. He opens up a book. He writes me a script, doesn't give me any anti-estrogens. I felt great for about 6 months, and then I felt like a girl on her fucking period.
Then you had breasts.
Yes,
Yeah.
all the time. And he didn't know any
Did you
better.
get gyno? Did you get gyno?
Yeah, I got
you got
gyno.
gyno?
Yeah, I got gyno. I had to have it cut on my side.
Yeah, gynecomastia is there.
Self-education again, and then knowing the need for this is what led me to have the passion to have and that's what led to Body Symmetry and to Cell-Tech MD, which is still my passion. It's where I go to work every day. It's not the business that makes me the most money that I have, right? But it's definitely the one I enjoy the most.
Right.
And so one of the reasons I was so honored and flattered that you asked me to be on the show, I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I'm an expert in just a few things, right? A few things. I know how to help people get sober, right? I can talk to you about trading stocks and investing, kind of an expert on that. I can talk to you, obviously, about hormones and peptides because that's what I do for a living. But what I like most talking about is like how to help other people, right? And the definition now, it's funny, on the way over here, I kind of told myself a joke in the head. Guys, any guy that I've ever heard say out loud that they're an alpha male is not my definition of an alpha male.
They don't even know what that means.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't even know what that
if
means.
I have to say that to somebody, then I'm not that dude,
No,
right?
you're not.
And y'all talked about a little bit on one of your podcasts before, like, this feminism and toxic masculinity and
misogyny and all.
Yeah, all that crap. Like, I was raised by my granddad, who's the colonel, so I'm very, very much old school,
Traditional.
Yes,
Yeah.
and even in college when I was hoeing, right, straight hoeing. I went to a school that was 10-1 girls to guys, and I was a drug dealing, bodybuilding.
You talking
star.
about Georgia?
Yeah,
I had a full scholarship to go to play football there
and
too.
you decided to go be a model.
No, you know what happened? But you know what happened for me? I went there. You know how you go down and they show you the campus and they take you to all the parties.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, I will no way I can. No, I can't be here.
Yeah.
I'm fucking everybody. Everybody's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was.
So
it
it's
was
funny how people have different perspectives. I didn't have any Division I offers for football.
Yeah.
I had more offers for basketball than football, but I liked playing football more. And I knew I wasn't going to be a pro athlete. I just knew already if I wasn't getting Division I offers, I'm not going to be a pro athlete or anything. So my granddad, rest his soul, every single person that sent me a letter for 6 months of my life, every weekend we were going to look at schools. Even schools, I wasn't going to Tennessee Temple, the Christian school where you have to have a haircut and girls can't come in your room. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going there, right?
Right.
We looked at all of them.
Yeah.
So when we went to Georgia Southern, it was far enough away that Granddad couldn't make me come home on the weekends and cut grass because he would have, right? And Coach Johnson, who ended up coaching at Tech and Navy, right? Navy then Tech, right? It was the assistant coach. Give us a tour, give us tips to the school. We lost our football program in World War II. It used to be Georgia Southern Teachers College, and we didn't have enough men to have a football team. And Coach Russell had left Georgia and starting a football. They're just starting a program, and they bought the Holiday Inn and turned it into the athletic dorm, which was way different because they didn't have dorms like that back then.
like that,
the dorms were like you used the bathroom and the shower down the hall. And there was a phone on the wall y'all all shared, right?
Right.
It's kind of like jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Very similar.
But at this Holiday Inn, we had our own bathroom, we had our own phone, we had cable TV. We thought we were going to have a pool. They cemented that in. They didn't tell us that. But one of the deciding factors when my ears perked up, he goes, oh, and by the way, the ratio of girls to guys is 10-1 here. And I'm like, this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
They offered me a full ride, gave me red shirt in my freshman year. The funny part was my coach Dorsey at Walton High School, who went on to McEachern to win all those championships, don't do steroids, don't do steroids, don't do steroids. And he had drilled that in my head. And I'd never even thought about it, dude.
As soon as you got there, you're like, give me that steroid.
Oh, as soon as I got there, the first day in camp, coach, I'm not going to say his name, one of the coaches gets up on the wall and says, weight gain plan A, you're going to see this strength coach, and you're going to put on 3 to 5 pounds of muscle between now and the season. Or you go see Dr. Smith. Right?
You put on 45 pounds.
Yeah, and you're going to put on 20 pounds of muscle in the next 12 weeks, right? And so, but I was so afraid, right? I said no.
Right. No.
And I drove. listen, I drove, because there was no internet back then.
Right.
I drove from Statesboro, Georgia to Savannah Medical College every weekend for a whole quarter. And learned everything that I could from medical journals about anabolic steroids. So by the time they gave me that first cycle of testosterone and DECA, I knew more about what they were giving me than they did.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning of how I ended up now. But in full circle, the stuff that I love that you guys are doing, and Tony and I are, it's almost like I was hesitant to come because we are so like-minded, and I don't just say that, like our philosophy, our life experience, we've known each other 30 years, right? About?
Yeah.
But our life experience and our philosophy now based on what we've been through in our life, although his is very different than mine, we just view the world with the same pair of glasses. So a lot of the things that I would say, Tony said, he said on the podcast, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
the only way this works, man. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, that's why he not only wanted to come on, he's like, dude, I'm not a podcast guy. He said, but you guys are talking about stuff that everybody else is afraid to talk about. And it's not that we're trying to whatever.
That's
but
not the focus anyway.
If it's in you, this is the place to let it out. So
This is the one place you can come and actually be yourself and don't have to be politically correct and walk the line.
term.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, episode 1, we shattered all that shit.
Oh,
right,
yes,
right after that,
trust me.
Right after, yeah. Right
I knew when I watched episode 1, I'm
Oh.
like, damn, that's something I would be interested in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then when Rich hit me, I'm like, fuck, I'm honored and just was waiting on the invite.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
You know?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. No, we're honored to have you on. You know, when these guys told me about you, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's in the family. So I don't know him yet, but he's in the family. Like he's been the same places that we've been. You know what I mean? So he gets it. You know, you look at the world now, and you see the landscape of where it's going. Now it's going somewhere good.
Hopefully, hopefully there's been a swing back in the pendulum.
Yeah.
Because everybody was sitting back waiting. Nobody was doing, if they try to tell you the economy's bubble, I'm like, nobody was doing nothing. Everybody was waiting.
Trust me. All of my business, and I have 5, right? In fact, I was talking to Rich. He was talking about business being bad with COVID. You know, one opportunity that would drop into my lap during COVID was a buddy of mine who's big in real estate. He had a little strip mall that he was the first development deal he did without Daddy, right? And it was 20 years ago. He was one of the first guys to help get sober in Charlotte. What's up, James? So he did this little strip mall, and like the Dollar Tree was the anchor. It was like 12 little units. And during COVID, this pizza place that he had been working with, because he knows he's struggling, they did the midnight move on him, owing him a bunch of rent, and they left the pizza up.
Mm-hmm.
And he cleaned up the oven and sold on eBay for like 10 grand, right? So he started a business, Your Equipment Guys, where all these restaurants that were going out of business, he goes to the building and says, we're going to put every single thing that you have on our website, open bid auction. I'm going to get 36% from the seller and 18% from the buyer.
Oh, that's a great number.
Yes, and
great
it's so
number.
non-labor intensive.
Yeah.
Take a picture of everything.
Yeah. Just put it
On
on.
your website, everything that sells, this is your pickup date. Whatever doesn't sell, it's on the owner to take to the dump.
Wow.
And he gave me the Georgia territory of this thriving business during COVID, right? But when we talk about when I coach people, because I still do it for free, right? Because it's very rewarding, right? I tell them the key to happiness is find your passion, right? Do what you love. That way it's not work, right? In this country, if you love what you do, you'll do it enough to get good at it. And in this country, if you're good at something, there is somebody that will pay you top dollar to do it. I don't care what it is. It can be cutting grass.
Don't
right?
matter.
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be detailing cars. Right? It could be any menial manual labor. Right? If you're really good at it, someone will pay you top dollar to do it. So find your passion. So that way, I don't get up and go to work every day. I don't go, oh shit, dude.
Right.
I gotta get up.
You get up and you want to go to work.
Yes. It's
every
like
day.
I bounce out of bed every day. Like, oh, let's go. I love what I do. So it's the key is being passionate about, what you do, right?
Yeah.
The key to, and I have to tell you, and it's no secret because I've told my buddy James this, I'm just not passionate about restaurant equipment.
Right.
Right?
I don't
And
blame you.
We
I don't
did
blame
this
you there.
steakhouse, right? We did a steakhouse that was in a rural area, and it was the everything. It was the steakhouse. It had a little concert venue, a sports bar attached. Like it was the only entertainment within miles of this country place was this place that had gone out of business because of COVID. We spent all day from 7 in the morning till 11:45 at night inventorying everything, the salt shakers, the chairs, the TVs, every bit of the fryers, the ovens, like every single thing they had in there, the TVs, the buffalo head on the wall. Dude, we made about 60 grand that day.
Wow.
Right? We worked one full day. And we made about 60 grand worth of shit, right? And if I worked one day a week on that business, I would make more than all my other businesses. But guess what?
But you hate it.
Because it's like
You're
work
not
to
happy.
me.
You're
no,
not happy,
I can't
yeah.
get excited about a grill or a fucking oil fryer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an honor to be here. We could, when I speak at places, because I'm not big on podcasts, but I do get asked to speak at a lot of like fundraisers. And I still monitor. I still sponsor and help a lot of youth, kids help get sober, especially young men. I try to spend kind of equal time on what my life was like then and then what happened, right? And then what my life is like now.
Right.
I like the most about what my life is like now.
Of course.
Right. Of course.
But I had a wild life. Like, I have stories that, I'm going to write a book. I've already got an offer from HarperCollins I turned down. The only reason I didn't write it was, in all honesty, if I wrote the book of my life as best I remembered it, not embellishing a single thing, telling the good, the bad, and the ugly, because for every cool story, I've got one that's super embarrassing, right? Equal number of stories, right? And if I wrote that book as best I can remember, and I handed it to me, and I didn't know me, I would think, come on, dude.
This is real?
Yeah.
What is this?
This
is fiction?
Yeah.
You wrote a fiction?
Yeah. You'd be a writer in Hollywood, right?
Right.
You make up shit like this.
Right.
But it's just, I'm not religious per se, right? But God was with me, even when I wasn't with him. I used to think that I'd stayed alive and out of prison more than I did because I was smart or lucky. It was neither of those things.
Neither.
God was looking out for me, and there was no other possible explanation given the shit that I've went through.
Yeah.
Right? And then, you're so young and you're selfish, and you think I made the decision to be a drug dealer and escalate up that because it's my life, and I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'll suffer the consequences. You don't think at that age how your decisions affect all the other people that love you and care about you, and how selfish that is to say, fuck all your family, fuck what they think, because that's what I said. Oh, I don't care what you think. Y'all all know I'm a drug dealer. I don't care. Look what I'm driving. Look, I live in the penthouse of the tallest city in tallest high rise in Atlanta. I've got a place in Houston. I've got a place in LA. I got a place in Miami. I got all the toys. Look at me. Guess what? I was miserable. I had all that stuff. I was miserable. But I did have a reputation that Cobb County, they called me Rabbit Jones, and that was my nickname from the police department in Cobb County because I would run and get away consistently. I ran a 4.4 in college. Even back then, right? Even under the influence, when you got that police belt and shit on, you're not catching me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you got 30 pounds kicking.
You're not catching me.
Yeah.
So I've got all these crazy stories of running from the cops and getting away all the time. In fact, the first time I went to prison, I was on probation in Clayton, Fulton, and Cobb for a looting. And I had this, not one, but 2 episodes in Cobb County. One was a high-speed pursuit chase in Cobb County that started and ended like this. I'm in an IROC Z, not registered my name because I'm a dope dealer. It's very late winter, about to be spring. It's warm at night, cool in the evening. I get pulled over on 285 at West Paces Ferry, speeding. I've got half a key on my, I'm not worried because I'm just speeding. He's had no reason to search the car. But as he comes up to the car, I realized that my fake Mississippi driver's license was suspended. My buddy had called me and said, yo, dude, you paid a ticket late. That license suspended. This is a state trooper. He's going to take me out of the car, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as he gets to the car, I dump it, right? Get off on Cobb Parkway, take a right towards Cumberland Mall. Back then, there was a police precinct at Cumberland Mall, right? So by the time I top that hill, I've got 10 units on me, right? This guy's trying to tap me out.
He's trying to clip you?
Yeah, he's trying to clip me. So I come down the bottom of the hill at Paces Ferry, and at the last minute, right before the bridge across the river on Paces Ferry, I take a hard right. One of the troopers crashes into a limousine. So, and again, I always give a disclaimer, I'm blessed. Someone is stupid. Someone could have got killed. I could have killed somebody. You don't understand. God was watching me.
Yeah.
He was protecting me even when I was doing foolish things.
Yeah.
So I drive through, hard right into the First Complex, crash through their gate. While I'm driving this IROC, that's a stick shift, I'm taking off my cowboy boots, which are fashionable, wiping down the steering wheel, putting the dope down my pants, jump out of the car with it still in gear, it hops the curtain, runs into a porch in the apartment complex. I'm running. I run about 30 yards. I fall into a ditch. Boom, now they're going to catch me, right? But I pop up out of the ditch. I run into the woods. I'm gassed. I'm in the woods, right? There's a creek that runs right up underneath there that's headed towards the river. I crawl through the tunnel and crawl on some brush. I'm trying to catch my breath, right? I've already washed all the dope down the waters. I ain't got the dope.
Yeah,
Fuck,
yeah.
the worst thing to do, catch me now, looting.
Okay,
right?
looting, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So I hear these cop cars parking right on top of me. I'm in the tunnel, right? And I'm like, fuck, I got to get further away from here, right?
Yeah.
So I start walking down the creek towards the river, and I get hit with a flashlight. Freeze, Cobb County Police, right? So I start running, but now the water's so deep, I'm swimming, right? So I'm not really making much progress,
literally
right?
swimming down
right? So I crawl out of the other side, right, to run, but the brush is so thick down by the river, it's impenetrable, right? I can't, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I just lay my ass down, right? So they've got dogs, they've got helicopters. They bring the dogs down. They're on the other side of the creek. They tell me, look, we're going to let these dogs out, and they going to come get you, and we ain't going to be able to get them off you. And so I'm thinking, oh, shit, dude, I might as well just come on out.
Yeah.
But that ain't in me.
Yeah.
And so I roll back into the creek, right? I cover myself in some brush and mud on the bed of the creek.
Did the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I really did. I really did.
The mud, you can't see.
But this is way before that movie came out, right? So
You're the original.
Yeah,
All right,
so,
that's what he got.
So, but I did steal a scene from Rambo in a second. So, they're working these dogs on whistle commands. I remember like it's yesterday, and I'm using my martial arts training to control my breathing, right? To try to just keep my heart rate down.
Yeah.
Dogs don't smell fear; they actually see it in their body language,
Right.
but they can hear, right? So I'm trying to control, and now I'm cold, like it's winter, like my teeth are chattering, like I'm wet. It's late winter.
The adrenaline
You making
is already
them, you
gone.
making them earn their money that day, boy.
But I'm like, shit, dude, if the dogs get me, they get me, but I'm going to ride it out. So I laid there what seemed like hours, but it was probably only about 45 minutes. But the dogs went right by me, dude, right over me twice.
They didn't find you.
Didn't find me.
The mud worked.
So, yeah, the mud and being in the water. I'm in the water,
the
right?
water,
I'm in
right.
the sewer water down there, right? So they leave, and I crawl up behind that BP. There's a big retaining wall because it's a floodplain down by the river. And I'm freezing, right? And there's cops everywhere. There's one at the BP. There's ones across the street at the Kroger. You can
They're
see.
just waiting.
Yeah, they're driving around. They know they got me in a net, right?
Yeah.
They know they've got me in this circle,
Yeah.
right? And so I climb down behind the BP. This is where the Rambo story comes in. I find this old like painter's tarp, and I think that I can get warm under it. Yeah, Rambo, you got that one wrong on the movie. It's not
That's
making me
fictional.
warm. Like I'm freezing. My teeth are chattering. I think I'm going to get pneumonia, right? So I can't sit there anymore. So there's a tree line that goes towards the bridge over the river, and these cops are driving around in a circle. And I belly crawl on the tree line about halfway between the BP and the bridge, and I wait for a break in the cars, and I just dart across Cobb Parkway up into Essex House Apartments. And nobody saw me. I'm freezing, right? So they have a pool. I have a cell phone, the big expensive ones, right?
The brick one? Yeah, the brick.
But it was wet, and so I knew if I turned it on, like it's gonna power off. Like I've been in the water, right?
Right.
And I know better than to turn the thing on, right?
Right.
And I got a pocket full of money because I'm a drug dealer. So I jumped this pool. Normally pools have a pay phone there, but their phone's a 911 only phone. But there's a laundromat, and it's locked, but it's a laundromat, and I know it's warm in there. So I kick the door in. Well, I kick the door in. Of course, the alarm goes off. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, shit.
But I jump in there and shut the door, and the alarm goes off, and I'm warm. I sit there for about an hour, dude. I get warm, and it's kind of dry, and I'm all cut up from this brush. I got no shoes on, right? The socks I got
That's
on
the
are
part
muddy.
that tripped me out, the running with no shoes.
Yeah, I got no shoes on. I came out my boots. I'm scratched up from all this brush, right? And I'm trying to figure out what the next move is. And I see this drunk guy kind of walking back towards the apartment complex, and I didn't want to, I'm 215 now, but I was 240 then. I didn't want to run up on this guy late at night.
He'll have a heart
So,
attack.
yeah. So I let him kind of walk up into the complex, and I very gently says, "Hey, man, I'm sorry to bother you." I said, "But can I use your phone?" And he goes, "What happened to you?" And I said, "Man," I says,
I got mugged.
"No," I said, "My girlfriend just moved in here." I says, "I talked her into jumping this fence because I thought y'all had a jacuzzi and you don't." I said, "I kind of twisted my ankle jumping over the fence." I said, "She got so mad at me, she scratched me all up and locked me out of her apartment." I said, "I banged on the door and she said she's going to call the police." And I don't need any trouble. I just want to call a taxi home. He goes, come on in. So this
that
guy,
was a great story.
It was.
Wait, you thought of this?
On the fly.
Yeah, all right.
One of my nicknames was Gup, Grace Under Pressure. So this was all on the fly, right? So this guy brings me in, gives me a change of sweat clothes, all right? Makes me a cup of coffee. The cab's taking so long that late at night, now I'm drinking a Michelob, right? Waiting on the cab. And in my mind, I'm thinking when I go to get in this cab, they're looking for me, and it's going to be round 2. But now I'm rejuvenated. Like I'm ready for round 2. You're not going to catch me again. You know
I'm hydrated. I got beer in me. Yeah.
But the cab came, and I got in the back, and it wasn't a cop, and I drove to the old American Pie, right, that had a line of other taxis. And my plan was for them to be not a trail, right? Yeah. So I got out of one taxi and right into another taxi and took it right across the bridge. And this, if I tell cool stuff, I'll tell embarrassing stuff.
Right.
So one of the guys that worked for me in the drug game lived in the little apartments that are now Hispanic, predominantly right there at Roswell Road in 285.
Yep.
Ironically enough, right by my clinic.
Right by your clinic,
And I go knock on his door, and I literally buy some of my own cocaine back that he stepped on for me to do. Right? For me to
my
do.
own shit again.
And I listen, if I told cool stuff, embarrassing stuff, I'd been in sewer water. I didn't get in the shower. I didn't do anything. I started doing cocaine because guess what? I was a cocaine addict.
Right.
And that's what I did. And I sat there for like
I need
2
my
days.
superhero juice.
Priorities.
So long story
Priorities.
short, that was the one. That one and another one where I'd parked the car and ran and got away is what made me. I knew somebody had snitched on me that worked for me, and so I left. I left Atlanta and went to Miami. And when I did come back, the Metro Atlanta Fugitive Squad caught me at Sidney May's house, the old owner of the Crystal Palace, who was one of my mentors. And that was pretty impressive. But I had a Doberman that I took everywhere that was very well trained. And these guys were all the way in the house without the dog knowing. That's impressive.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a whole different kind of training.
Wow.
Yeah, they got me.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah. But my point is, like, and I've got tons of those stories. Like, I've got another one. This is the most embarrassing one, not nearly as long. So in Miami, I'm abstinent from cocaine, right? I'm really not doing anything, smoking some weed. I'm working a lot, but I'm partying. I'm just not doing drugs, right? And I had not done any drugs. And one of the bouncers who, I lived in a penthouse on Winston Towers, the 600 building, right on the beach on North Miami Beach. And he lived in a little condo right across the Intercoastal. And both of them were right on the way home from the strip club that I managed, right? And he's having some people over and invites the boss over. And like he's having some girls over, right? So we get over there and they're smoking, they're freebasing cocaine, right? And I know this isn't a good idea. But I said, I can do one, right?
Just one.
Just one.
One's fine.
So I can't make this up. I do one hit with this big old head out of a big old glass pipe of freebase. And I instantaneously get so paranoid. I go to the front door and look out the peephole, right? And I can't see anything. And I go to the back door, the sliding glass door, and I look out the blinds, and I kid you not, against the little aisleway of water, there's 2 undercover cops sitting in a car looking at me in binoculars, right? And I said, you know, it's instinct, right?
Right.
I said, cops. And for whatever reason, I opened that door and ran left. And soon as I opened the door, you hear sirens, like they're coming, right? Woo, woo.
They're waiting on you.
They're coming, right?
Yeah.
So I run to the end of a little peninsula, right? And I'm stuck. Like it's a peninsula.
It's water
like,
and
it's water. There's no way. There's one way.
Cops in water.
Yeah. My convertible Corvette sitting right outside. I jump in the water. It's not like TV. You cannot swim fully dressed. No. Like I grew up in the water, but you cannot swim fully dressed. Like you just can't, right?
You're heavy.
Yeah. So I go over and I take off all my clothes other than my little sunshiny boxers, white with little sunshiny smiley faces on them, and I'm in the water. Metro-Dade police boats come up. U.S. Coast Guard boats come up. I'm hiding behind boats, dude. I'm just hiding behind boats. I'm becoming waterlogged. And after about an hour in the water, they leave. And I think I can make it. I swim the Intercoastal. Put my head down, swim the Intercoastal. get to the other side. There's not a ladder waiting on me to get out, right? I shimmy up a beam that's got barnacles. Now my legs and my arms cut like razor blades, just laid open, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be cool. And I'm like, I live right there. I'm going to act like I'm a jogger. So you can see right through my white boxers and see my junk, right? And I'm trying to be cool. I got no shoes on, right? And I'm trying to act like I'm a jogger. I'm trying to just jog home.
Try to lose some weight.
So I get back to my place, walk in. I have to tell security, like, yo, can you let me in my place? Like, it's a long story. And they're like, yeah, we'll let you
They're
in.
like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
happening?
so they go in, they let me in my own place. I get binoculars and go out on balcony, and I'm looking, and like the police cars are gone. There's 2 cars there. My vet's still there with the top down, right? My Corvette's sitting right down. Later in the day, my phone rings, and my buddy goes, yo, dude, what the fuck happened? I'm like, what do you mean what happened? You tell me what happened. The fucking cops came and raided. I'm glad I fucking got away. Like, what'd you get me into, right? He goes, you dumb motherfucker. He goes, they weren't watching us. They were watching the neighbors. But when they saw you ran, they came and arrested us too. And so now I get the Asshole of the Year award, right? And the cops just charged it, which is like just possession charge, you know what I'm saying? But they wouldn't have come had I not showed my ass, right? I would have not ran.
That's that paranoia.
Yeah.
That
so for every
hilarious.
cool story, I've got an embarrassing story, and that was like super, super embarrassing.
That's hilarious.
Well, you know.
That is hilarious.
You know, do you ever look back in any part of your life, the things that you went through, even the stuff that got you put in prison? Do you regret any of it?
No. And I'll tell you, here's why. And it'd be easy to. And again, the last time I went to prison, it was on some real bullshit.
Yeah.
And like I was angry at God because I had changed my life. I was bone sober. I'd helped hundreds of other people get sober. I was completely legit. Like, what the fuck, right? And I was really angry at God. And I don't think he lost any sleep over it. But like I would tell him like, yo, dude, this is fucked up. Like, what more did you want from me? I changed my life. I've helped all these other people, and here I'm sitting in jail, right? They denied my parole. You're gonna make me max out. Like I was angry. But 2 things. One, I was able to help people in prison, which I think kept my mental state. So I was walking through people that were alcoholics and addicts through the AA book. But I also started teaching the stock trading class, and it just so happened Georgia prisons are run by the gangs, right? Maximum security prisons. They're run by the gangs. Yeah. The corrections officers don't give a damn about anything other than getting over the wall. And since nobody goes out on detail for anything, nobody escapes, right? So you can kill each other. There's a system that prevents you from getting prosecuted if you stab another inmate. How it works is, if you're in a stabbing, the very first thing they do is put everybody involved on a bus and send them as far away from that prison as they can. So if a GBI investigator goes to investigate and he goes to talk to everybody once,
they're all gone.
He ain't making that trip around the whole state again. He gets everybody's statement one time, and if they're contradiction, they're like, well, no charges, right? So what helped me is like helping people, but it just so happened that the GDs, the Gangster Disciples, which are the most organized gang in the prisons, besides they're not a gang, but the Muslims move like a gang, and they're super organized, right? But these GDs were really making money off what I was teaching them on the stock class, right? And so I was their boy, but you have to be careful because you can't even be perceived to be protected by someone, or you're a sheep, right? So I tell people, there's 3 kinds of people in prison. There's lions who run by themselves. I'm a lion. I'm not in any gang. I'm just doing my own thing, stay in my own lane, right? And then there's wolves, which are the gang members. You know, all these kids, 140 pounds soaking wet, but they come 15 deep. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the sheep. And you can go from being a wolf to a lion, or you can go from being a lion to a wolf. And it might even be able to, you can go to either one, right? But once you're a sheep, you'll always be a sheep. You can't not be a sheep. Once you let someone take anything from you, a bag of potato chips, a 39-cent soup, right? You are now fair game, because lions don't eat wolves, and wolves don't eat lions, but they both eat sheep, right? And with the modern telephones, even if you're a sheep and you get picked, if you get on the transfer bus, they call like, "Yo, one's coming to you, getting off the bus tomorrow." Like,
damn, you're gonna be a sheep no matter where you at.
No matter where you go.
Wow.
So I tell everybody, the reason that I don't stress out here, because I really don't, other than the wedding had me stressed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I wanted everything to be perfect for my wife.
It was perfect.
Got married for the first time last month.
Congrats,
Man, it was amazing.
Love my wife. Hey, love. You know, being through the things I've been through, but especially there, being in a maximum security prison as a white boy, not in a gang, is not fucking easy, especially if you have something, right? And I had something, right? And again, I'm not proud nor ashamed, but the things and the way that you have to move there to not be a sheep,
Right.
it just is what it is, right? And I don't like that guy is in there, but I hope I never see him.
Right,
again,
you just
know
pull him
what I'm
out when
saying?
you need him.
Yeah, but I don't like him.
Right, no.
And I don't want to see him. Like, it doesn't make me feel good,
Yep.
right? So when I tell people, like, they ask me, like, how come I never see you stressed out with all these businesses, and you've had 2 heart surgeries in the past 2 years, and like,
You guys they got to talk a little bit about
we'll
that.
talk about that.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, man, with what I've been through there, what am I going to stress about out here?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Right,
you
right,
know, it's
right.
nothing.
The bills later.
Yeah, and I tell people this all the time, because it's not like you see on TV.
No.
Prison is not like you see on TV. It's not all you got to do is go to the cafeteria and pick out a big guy and get in a fight with him. First off, that big guy is probably either another lion or a fucking wolf. If he's a lion and you beat his ass, you might be all right. But if he's a wolf, right, no matter
pack
what
is
happens, the pack is coming. Like, and they're coming so deep that you don't have a chance, right? And I got caught slipping a couple times. I was the warden's aide in Dooley, and which was the most coveted job because I had access to anywhere in the prison. Like, I could move. Like, I didn't have to have a guard with me. Like, I ran errands for the warden all day long when they saw me, because they popped the gate, right? They knew who I was, and they popped the gate. Sometimes they'd throw me against the wall and frisk me down. But I didn't fuck around. I wasn't going to risk, because the warden would give you a new charge. Catch you carrying some, anybody else get caught, the officer might just throw it away, take it from you, right? But the warden's boy, he's going to make an example out of it. So I enjoyed the fact I got better food, right? And I also got moved into the kitchen dorm, which all the other maximum security prison was a cell. You're locked down most of the time, right? You and somebody else. Like them or hate them, you locked down with them, right? Well, the kitchen dorm was like an open dorm, and it had AC, right? None of the other prison had air.
Right.
And I didn't like the fact you didn't have any privacy because you're in an open dorm. And it's also a little bit more dangerous, believe it or not, because you have no time where you have a door locked where the only person you have to worry about trying to kill you or fuck you is your roommate. Right. And so, but the kitchen staff, again, they're all lesser offenders. That's why they wouldn't put them in the kitchen staff, because they have access to knives and weapons and tools and stuff. But one day, and I never went to eat at the chow hall because all the kitchen guys just bring you back whatever, right? So I don't have to get up and go to the chow hall because I just tell them what I want, right? And pay them when bring me back whatever. So I was the only one in the dorm. I was sitting there reading the Wall Street Journal, playing on some stocks. I'm not paying attention. And this group of bloods come running up in the dorm to try to take my cell phone. I'm like, where's that phone? I'm like, what phone? Like, we know you got a phone. Where's it at? I'm like, I ain't got no phone. And they're like, we're going to get to sticking. And I'm like, okay, let's get to sticking. And we got to sticking. And I got stuck up pretty good. And the GDs, because they fucked with me, when they heard, they all came running and scared all these bloods out, right? So it would have been worse for me, right? I got blessed, right? But I was stuck up, all right? But I'd stuck some of them up pretty good too. And so the captain comes in, they make everybody stand in front of their bunks in their boxers, and they like, we heard a white boy in here got stabbed. And it was me, you heard about, right? So my borscht was right here, and I'm leaking, right? And as the captain's walking by, and they make everybody raise their hands, I raised my hands and turned, where I just spun where she never saw that, and she went all through the dorm, and they left like, man, I got back. I got out. Man, they brought the whole CERT team in there and put us all butt-ass naked on the yard and brought us in one at a time, and that I couldn't get by them that time. So, of course, they send me to the hole, and then they come by, what happened? I'm like, oh, yeah, we were out playing volleyball. I died for volleyball. Really bad lie, but what else you can tell? I died for a rock or something.
At least say football or some shit, man.
Something cut me on the yard, right?
We're playing ping pong and it was full contact.
So they tell you, they're like, well, all you got to do is tell us what happened, and that's one thing you cannot do. Not do in prison.
You can't tell anything.
And so just because I knew I was fucked either way. So just to fuck with them, like, you know, if I tell you who it is, can I like go back to my dorm? And they're like, and stay in the kitchen dorm. And like, oh yeah. I'm like, now I know you're fucking lying to me.
Right.
But they kept me in the hole that time for 6 months, and I lost my job as the aide, and of course you don't get medical attention.
But don't you get respect from the inmates?
Oh no,
You know what I mean?
Yes and no. So it's not like, it's hard to explain. You don't get respect. No, the answer to that would be no. But the hell that you go through if you're a snitch, like nobody's going to give you kudos for not being a snitch.
Right.
Yeah, nobody's going to give you your props. It's not like coming home and keeping your mouth shut where you got the promotion. In prison, like, you just don't do that. You just, no matter what. I didn't see shit. I don't know shit. I didn't see shit. I don't know shit.
Yeah.
So my, doing time in the hole, it didn't bother me as bad as people say, right? I'm okay being by myself. I liked having a room by myself.
Right.
You don't get any store, so you starve. You lose weight. You teach yourself to sleep like 14 hours a day, which is really, really unhealthy. And I was never one of those guys that went overboard on the prison workouts. I did enough to keep my sanity, but I wasn't one of those workout kings, which you could have been. It's, what else you got to do? To me, it was such a, you tell yourself things that aren't true or not true. I'd kind of made a decision when I went to prison, like, fuck it, if I can't get to some weights, like, I'm just not going to do it. But I did. I did some push-ups and some, curls with the water bags, and when they made it available to where you could have something to put in your hand to work out, I would do it. But it was few and far between, because again, maximum security, they're not down with any of that shit. They catch you any of that shit, they're gonna take it from you at best. Worst case scenario, they're gonna. I did my time honestly. Most of my time, I always had a smartphone and a $100 smartphone from Walmart, just the cheapest smartphone you can buy, whatever cheap off-brand it is. The maximum security prison, that's about a $1,200 to $1,600 piece of equipment, because the only way it gets in is an officer brings it in. It ain't like a detail's going out and somebody's putting up their ass and coming back into prison. Like, the only way that you get one of these is if an officer that's dirty is bringing these in. And they do, because look at the money that they're making. Yeah, for a phone.
For $100 investment.
And I always kept one. So how I did my time, I'm deaf in one ear, is why I talk so loud. So it's very dangerous for me to be on the phone, because
you can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear my surroundings, and that's fucking stupid, because you have to be on your P's and Q's. Them young boys would have never stuck me up had I been aware, not kick back, relax, reading my paper, and not seen them coming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They were on me before I even knew what the fuck was going on.
Wow.
So, I would download movies and watch all night from lockdown, because you can't have everybody phone out. Not doing lockdown, right? Because you're gonna lose it, right? Either some gangbangers are gonna try to come take it from you, or a cop's gonna catch you with it, right? And so I just stayed up all night watching, whole series on something this big.
Wow.
And I watched everything, and I would download shit all day, every day,
and
watch it all night. And I could lay in my bunk and be on my bunk with the phone like this, and with the brightness turned all the way down. And even if cop came in on rounds and looked in the window, it just looks like I'm asleep.
Right.
Really, I'm just laying there watching.
You're watching the show.
Watching the TVs. Wow. And I've got a couple of wild stories where, like, I got away with a couple. I got shook down a couple of times, and again, just it was luck and knowing how to move. You don't panic. I had one that. Dude, they saw the brightness on my phone. I just powered it on.
I was just about to say how.
And like I see that phone, and they're on the radio with the CERT team, because in maximum security prison, they're not popping that door without a team. They're not coming in by themselves. They don't get paid enough to come in there by themselves.
Right.
So they on the radio, I know they coming, right? So everybody has a pocket sewn in their shorts for their phone. And there wasn't no way to get rid of it. You're going to bust it in pieces and try to flush it. Like, they already saw me with it. They're going to find me with it no matter where I put it.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, so there it went. So he pulls me out. They miss it, and they send me to the TV room and lock it. And they tear that motherfucking cell up, the whole CERT team. So in the TV room, it's got these steel benches that are bolted to the floor, right? And there's like 3 rows and a little bitty TV that everybody watches. And I just took it and kind of stood it up against the leg of the stool and just sat there. And they came back, pulled me out of the room, looked around the room, put me back in the room, locked the TV Dude, all I did was, soon as they left, the little runaround that sweeps at night, yo, dude, tell them you need to clean the TV room. I got you. Go get my phone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, let me clean the TV room. They bring me the phone back. But again, I lost some too. I got, if the Georgia Department of Corrections sends their whole 150 unit team to the prison, nothing survives. They take apart everything, and they've got the little machine that any type of electric device, even if it's turned off,
it picks it up.
Yeah, if you can't disconnect the battery out of it. Yeah. So all the kids with the cheap, a $15 flip phone from Walmart is about a $250 or $400 phone, and those you can take the battery out, right? And so they don't find those. But anything like this, that they come to the machine, no matter how great a spot you had, they're going to find it.
Wow.
But enough about prison. What else do we talk about?
No, I want to talk. So I know we've been going for a minute, but you had some health issues that were extreme to me. Like when you told me and described and showed me the pictures, mind blowing. So I don't. Paj definitely doesn't know that. So
it's it's a crazy world we live in. I don't live as healthy as you do because I don't eat as clean as you do. But
don't feel bad about that. No one does.
Yeah, right. That's what I don't feel bad. But I've taken pretty good care of myself since I've been sober, not counting the years of drinking and drugging, right? And I've taken pretty good care of myself. Regular in the gym, don't eat just stupid fat. I don't eat fast food. I've got my vices. So I was feeling tired all the time about 2.5 years ago, and I couldn't figure out why. I sleep good at night. I'm going to the gym. I'm tired all the time. Come to find out, I had torn my mitral valve lifting in the gym. I thought I'd never heard of it, but Lee.
Oh, Lee Haney?
Yeah,
says
it's quite common.
Wow.
All right. Well, your first lift heavy in the gym, and I don't even lift heavy because I consider heavy guys that are strong. Like I don't even lift that heavy, right?
Heavy for you.
Yeah, heavy for me, right? But that first lift, the change in the pressure, the blood just blows through and it ripped the valve. It just tore the fucking valve, tore my mitral valve. So I did all this homework, and I found this one doctor, Dr. Murphy at Emory, invented this procedure 10 years ago. He teaches other doctors how to do it, where they went in robotically through 6 holes in the side of my body, and they go in and sew it back up. It's a repair, not a replacement. And it's much less invasive because they don't have to lay you open and open you up like a chicken, gutting a fish, right? And his success rate was phenomenal. And I read people well. It's one of the gifts that kept me alive in the dope game. And I just believed this guy when he said, dude, I got you. You're going to be fine, right? So he did the surgery. And listen, let me tell you, since we're on the Alpha podcast, I realized when I woke up from that surgery, I'm not hard. I'm not a tough guy. I've never experienced that kind of pain. I've had reconstructive shoulder surgery, reconstructive knee surgery. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've crashed many cars. I've never had the kind of pain that I woke up. It's literally, the analogy is there's 6 holes that go from the outside of my body all the way to my core. So it's like 6 bullet hole. It's like you were shot 6 times all on one side of your body. So to breathe hurts. you know? Yeah. And God forbid you have to cough, but because you've been in surgery and your lungs have been collapsed, because they collapse your lungs to get to the shit, right? Your lungs are filling up with fluid, so you're drowning. And then you have to cough so that you don't drown. And coughing is like, if I could imagine what it felt like for Mike Tyson in his prime to hit me dead in the center of my chest every time you cough, that's what it was like. Like, I was screaming for, give me some more fucking pain meds. Like, this is horrible. So anyway, full recovery. It was amazing because you hear what you want to hear, right? So true story, because we talk about the peptides. I'm shooting BPC 157 and TB 500 peptides right into me, right? In the ER, in the intensive care. And BPC is like more for tissue, ligament, tendon. TB 500 is a peptides. It's for skin, and I'm shooting both of them. And so I go to the doctor after I'd been home. I got home on Thanksgiving Day, and which he let me out a day early. And I go for my follow-up appointment the next week, and he's like, well, how come you missed last week? And I'm like, Doc, I was in the hospital. Last week was Thanksgiving. It's like, no, you missed, And he leaves the room, comes back, and he goes, You did miss. Let me see that wound again. Like, I had healed up, right? And he said, he did all the tests. He says, if you're a marathon runner, you can go run. What I heard was I could go back to the gym.
Yeah.
But that's not what he said, because my heart was healed, but those 6 bullet holes that I had on the side of my body were not. And so a couple of days later, I went and did a really light full body workout, set myself back a week. Dude, I was bedridden for 2 days, had to take pain meds again. So the surgery went well, recovered well, everything is good. About a year later, I started having the same fucking symptoms. This time I knew what it was. And I'm like, damn, the thing's torn again, right? He said this thing would never tear. So apparently, I had one.
Is that what you did right there?
Yep, that's it. So apparently, I had one. I don't have any clogging, no hardening of the arteries, no buildup anywhere, right? But I had one tiny calcium deposit on the lip of my aortic valve. And they told me that when I woke up from the repair surgery.
Oh, fuck all that.
Right?
It's like that's what they use.
Swords.
No
6
wonder
swords. Six swords all the way.
Like
right?
Minimally invasive.
Yeah, it is. So, so long story short, the aortic valve, it had a calcium deposit that had grown. It was right on the tip of the lip, and that's not a repairable surgery. So now I had to go through this shit again, but this time they're going to have to replace a valve. And I had the means and did all the homework and went to some of the best doctors in the Southeast. And this doctor at Kennestone Wellstar, Asian guy, he had me convinced to do a carbon fiber valve and says it'll outlast the rest of your life. And I'm kind of convinced, right? But this Dr. Winston at Northside, and I went to 2 at Emory, 1 at Wellstar, 1 at Northside. He was so much more thorough and went back and looked at like every bit of my medical history that he could get data on, and spent way more time asking about my lifestyle. I still sometimes go to jiu-jitsu class. I still lift, although the rule after the last heart surgery was if I can't lift it 15 times, don't touch it. So no heavy lifting, high reps, right? Yeah. So he's like, dude, you on a carbon fiber, you're going to have to be on Coumadin the rest of your life. I'm like, what's that? Nobody told me that, right? It's like it's a really strong blood thinner where you have to come get your blood work done every 7 to 10 days and adjust the dosage, number one. He says, number two, he says, you get slammed on the mat in jiu-jitsu and bleed out by the time the ambulance came to get you. Like, and I'm like, well, I'm like, F that, I'm too active. Like, I'm just too active, you know? So we did the cow valve. They laid me open here to here. They told me, I've just turned 60. This was in April when I had the surgery. They said, you're going to be in the hospital about 10 to 14 days. It'll be about 6 to 9 months before we can talk about you going back to the gym. Same thing, hit it with the peptides, right? Walked. I got up out of that bed because they said the more you can get up and move around, the sooner you'll go home. So if I wasn't tied to the bed doing the procedure, I was doing laps. I asked what the record was, and I was trying to break the record. I was pushing that IV bag, doing laps, right? So they sent me home in 5 days, and at 30 days, they let me go back to the gym, and at 60 days, I had no restrictions. I'm on no medications. I take a baby aspirin every day. But same thing, I even warned my cardiologist. The surgeon was kind of prepped for it because he had seen the peptides heal before. But my cardiologist, when I did the first one, I warned him. And I'm sitting there in the thing, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to warn you, like, this scar don't look like normal scars. Like he goes, yeah. And he's still typing. And I'm not exaggerating. I lift the shirt up, and it knocked him off his stool. Like, this thing looks like I had it 5 years ago. Like, in certain light, you can barely even see the line that I even have, and they laid me open. So very blessed. I did listen to the doctors. Nothing's perfect. I haven't even told you this yet. Recently, when I'm doing upright rows.
Oh, I don't even do them no more.
So normally at my age, they just wire the sternum back together. And I watched a video of them doing them. They tighten that wire down. Like, they wire that sternum back together, right? Well, this Dr. Winston was so apt on me and my lifestyle. He normally only does this to athletes that are in their 20s. They put the little titanium plate, and it's poking out right here. You can see the bottom of the plate. That's the plate.
Oh, wow.
Right there, the bottom of the plate poking out, right? So when I'm doing upright rows lately, and it just started, I can feel the wire click. Right, so, and I don't think there's anything they can do about it. I'm just but it doesn't feel or sound good. You know what I'm saying? Kind of freaks me out. But I'm blessed. Like, just to have lived that life, right? Because the ending to that story, like I told you earlier, it's death or life in prison.
Yeah.
Like those are the only two ways that story ends. I don't care who you are. Those are the only two endings. So
that's if you stay on that path.
Yeah. And so I was spared of that, right? Because, it's another thing that helped me not be the victim, right, of having to do those 7 years of some bullshit is first, I did the shit that put me on the probation. I might not have done the shit that should have violated me, right?
Right.
But I did the shit that put me on the probation in the first place. Plus, I had done other things that had I been caught, I would not ever have been able to come home.
Right.
Even ones that I'm comfortable talking about, like they took my manufacturing case to the federal grand jury 3 times. The feds for manufacturing what they can classify they classify ecstasy as a methamphetamine, right? The minimum sentence for manufacturing is 20 years. That's the minimum sentence. It's 20 years. And they took my case to the grand jury 3 times, and all they had was snitch papers. They had the only physical evidence they had, again, my ego, I was moving out of the penthouse of Club Tower because I had a deal go bad in Miami. And I literally went, and again, if I tell them cool stuff, I'll tell them embarrassing stuff. I went from living at the penthouse at Club Tower, which was the most expensive residential piece of property in the city, the highest residential high rise, and I'm in the top. I'm in the penthouse, right? All the penthouse floors were gangsters.
Which one is that?
Club Tower is what it used to be. West Peachtree and 16th Street. It was Club Tower, then Oakwood. It's something else now.
Okay.
So I went from living there to living in a building off the other side of Lenox Road by Cheshire Bridge where half of the units were fucking abandoned and had fucking crackheads and homeless people in it. Like literally.
Yeah.
Talk about
180.
penthouse. Yeah, 180.
Yeah.
But the blessing of having lived that life and being through I went through, when they took that case to the grand jury, the only piece of physical evidence they had, an undercover cop that I knew was an undercover cop that worked undercover at the Crystal Palace. I'm leaving there one Sunday morning, been up at least all night, maybe 2 days, and say, yeah, I got to go move all this shit out of my penthouse. He goes, oh, I got a truck. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He says, man, let me get one of these other dudes. We'll come move your shit for you. I'm like, oh, okay. And they moved my shit for me, and they found a cell phone bill. This a friend that's a doctor now that we both know that the cell phone bill was in his name, but they connected all the dots. It connected everything because I did all the business on that cell phone. But they collected that cell phone without a warrant. They just pulled it out my trash can. But that game was over because it didn't matter where they got the data. Now they knew they knew what the game was. Like everything with me was compartmentalized. It's one of the reasons, again, that I was able to do what I did for so long. Because I was into everything, my ex people didn't sell cocaine, and my cocaine people didn't sell steroid, and my steroid people didn't sell weed, and my weed people didn't sell guns, and then I had an escort service in 6 different cities. Like, it was all compartmentalized.
Right.
So when one got hot, I just turned it off. That hot water coming out of that faucet, turn that one off. It didn't affect any of the other ones because they weren't interconnected.
Right.
But it was a big step back losing that one because it was the second biggest moneymaker. Ironically, people ask me this, what was the most? So manufacturing ecstasy was second to importing steroids. The margins, second. The margins.
Wow.
There was so much more.
There
was so much more entailed.
Yeah.
Back then, pre 9/11 and before the rules changed, the federal law was you could bring 999 units across the border, and if you got caught, it was a misdemeanor. It was considered personal use. I mean, all right. So
is that still around?
No, I'm sure
probably not. Right?
So I would send all these kids to Mexico, and because I had a relationship, I would call the manufacturers, and they would meet them in whatever city I want them to, and they'd even shrink wrap. Back then, 1 ampule came in a matchbox size, right? And when I first started smuggling, you could put 3 ampules in that box. Well, these people would package it down how I wanted it, and they would shrink these ampules and shrink wrap them and put them in bubble wrap for me, as many as I wanted, right? And so I'd fly these kids down and send them on a vacation and give them $500 to carry the stuff back and tell them, if you get caught, it's a misdemeanor, I got you. But pre 9/11, they ran drug dogs over luggage, but they never opened up shit and look. You could fly back with whatever the fuck you wanted to. And in the margins, I was paying 38 cents a vial for a vial of testosterone. and I was wholesaling them. To buy an order from me, you had to buy at least 500. Most people bought 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. It was $8 a mile. That was a better markup than
anything.
Than anything.
Stocks, you name it.
No, it was a better markup than any narcotic.
Right.
You know, even me manufacturing ecstasy. When I had the best, which were the chocolate chips or those blue turbos. Raising your hands up,
back, man. Back there.
All right.
Boy,
So
I think that's why I'm a cookie monster to this day.
Exactly. So when I manufactured those, and those were both mine, although they were often imitated, never duplicated.
No.
Dude, the chocolate chips were the more expensive. I had about $1.75 in a pill, and I was wholesaling then at that level. You know, if you got them, you got them from somebody that worked for me. You know, I never. But most of the people they were sold to at that level, it was a minimum $10,000 order. Like if you weren't buying 10,000, you had to go get it from the next person under them, right? They sold it to someone else, who sold it to somebody else, who sold it in the clubs. But those people were paying $8, $6 to $8. But I had $2 in that pill and all the expense of the logistics of moving it because I only had 2 labs. So with the people in LA, I had to get the shit from Texas to California, and that cost me money. But again, back then you could take any GNC bottle and fill it up with whatever. It didn't matter what the label said. Put cotton back on it, put a factory plastic seal with a hairdryer back on that bad boy, and nobody touched it. People flew with shit all the time. You could never do that now.
Never. No, that's a whole different thing.
Never.
Wow. Well, I want to talk to Nick more, man.
Oh no, we got to.
Can you do?
He comes from our era.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of people, they do things in life and they crash and burn. You went from one thing to the next thing and you excelled at all of them. And I'm not glorifying, I'm just saying because of this. You know what I mean? And so that allowed you to do it all. But now you're 180. And you're still an incredible businessman and have amazing heart. And I don't know, you're one of my best friends.
Well, thank you.
You guys want to hug it out?
We always hug it out. No, I'd love to come back. What I'd like to, if I ever get the opportunity, like what's so much more important to me now is like, and I hate like cliches like the law of attraction, right? But the fact of the matter is, when I made the decision to focus on helping people, the money just comes.
It comes, bro.
Right? And like, that's really all I give a shit about. I truly don't give a shit about the money. I want to make enough where all of my people get paid. It's not even about me. I want my people to have better lives. What's the most important about my businesses that are struggling because of the economy? It's not me. I got other businesses. I'm good. I'm still doing great, right?
Yeah.
I want their lives to be better. I want their lives to be better as a result of working with me. You know what I'm saying? And then there's so many people that I can help based on that life experience. Because when I walk in to volunteer with some kids, right, and I take my criminal background, which when I drop it on the table sounds like the phone book of a small town, and you see the horrific charges of
we used to have phone books.
Right. Of assault,
don't know what that is.
Assaulting officers and like these horrific. I threw somebody out of a 3rd-story window of a hotel. Like I was just not a good human being. But when they see that you have done those things, they understand that you were like them and you speak their language. It's not like when I went to a drug treatment center. When I went to a drug treatment center, if you were an addict, you had nothing to say to me, right? If you didn't know what it was like for me to have a physical craving beyond my control, where every day I would say, I'm not going to do this shit. I'm not going to do this shit ever again. And the next day, as soon as I got money, I went and got more. And I'd say, I'm not going to do this shit all the way to the dope house. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to talk maybe next time more about the way that we all help more people. But I'd love to come back.
How's the rest of your day looking today?
We can do whenever.
Do you want to? So what I'm thinking is, let's go do lunch. I want to talk to him. Yeah, I want to talk to him. You know,
Go eat. I need to pee.
Let's do that. Yeah, go pee. We'll eat some lunch. You guys hug it out, and then we'll be back.
Take break.
All right, cool.
Part 2. All right.